All right, so now we're going to dive a little deeper into taking where our thesis statement goes, where it gets placed, and how to structure and build a good introduction. All right, so the introduction is it's really the kind of the key, right? If I have a good introduction, then I've got a chance. If I have a terrible introduction, then I have no chance. Just think about it in the same way you would if you were introducing a friend or you were being introduced to someone. You just have a very short time to make a good impression. And often a bad impression at the beginning can never be overcome. And this is really true with writing. What happens if you have a poor introduction, then most people give up, or you make some mistake in your introduction and you don't include some really important information or expected information, and then the reader is doubting you throughout the rest of the reading, even if they stay with it. So introduction is really important. But I'm going to show you how to do it really well, very, 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 very simply. Okay, I want to say easy, but it's not that easy, but it is simple. All right, so there's nothing to doing it. All right, so the introduction has this kind of second in, right? It has this responsibility. You know, it has to get the reader's interest, right? Sorry, I'm writing too small here. That's a big job. Has to get the reader's interest and contain the thesis statement. Because the thesis statement now is going to tell the reader, hey, pay attention. This is what I want to talk about. This is what I'm going to be writing about. All right, so we're going to have to get the reader's interest. Sorry, there's a little ten missing here. All right, I like to use one. It's a lot better, it's a lot easier as a writer to focus on the idea that you're writing to one specific person as your reader. Now that person might be multiplied many, many, many times. For example, it might be a high school senior who is considering studying English, right? And maybe that's your focus, your audience that you have for your essay. It's not easy to write to all high school students or all high school students who are interested in studying in English, right? It's a lot easier for us as writers to just pick one and think about how can I reach that one, right? So I'm going to get the reader's interest, and then I'm going to give my thesis statement. Thesis statement comes where? It's the last sentence. I'm going to mention this again and again. It's the last sentence. So my introduction is going to have get interest, then the thesis statement. Typically, for our essays, we're going to do this. We're going to use at least two techniques. At least two. We can use more. We can use more than two techniques for getting interest, right? But two is usually enough. And a thesis statement is usually a fairly long, complex, a little more complex sentence, as you saw. So it's not enough sometimes to just use one get interest technique and then bam, here's my thesis statement. So think of it like you brought somebody home and you're going to introduce them to your parents and go, Mom, this is the person that I have fallen in love with and they're a really good person and I'm going to marry them. That's not enough introduction to get to I'm going to marry this person. It takes a little more to get there. You might have your mom's and dad's attention. I don't know if you have their interest, but you'll have their attention. Okay, so we're going to get the reader's interest. We're going to use two techniques. What techniques can we use? What can we do? What can we do to get interest, right? So we're not going to do, like we talked about, get ideas. We're going to do brainstorming and all those other ways to get ideas. So let me share with you some ways that we can get interest. So your introduction is always going to include, for us, minimum, my Japanese today, right? At least to 적어도 2개 필요해요. Okay? 그래서 한국말로, 한국어로 대답하죠. Right? Suddenly, I just couldn't get that to come out there, right? 少なくとも2つ. Right? So you need to have at least 2 get interest ideas. And then the thesis statement. And that should give us a pretty solid, pretty nice looking introduction that will lead the reader in. Okay? So let's talk about get interest techniques. First get interest technique is to go from general to specific. Right? No one in general, in life, normal communication begins with the specific point, right? Very, very seldom, even amongst your really close friends, unless it's an emergency situation, does any conversation or communication begin with exactly the point. Your friend does not come up to you and go, "Where were you Tuesday at 9 p.m.? They don't do that. They're going to lead up to that, right? So most conversations, most communications, now even business communications that are about sales techniques, those kind of things are going to follow this. Now, if it's just a letter about informing you about something, even some of them began with some kind of greeting, right? Hey, thanks a lot for always being a customer or something, and then bam, they hit you. Right? So it's very common that a conversation begins general and it becomes specific. Right? So most of the time we're talking about general to specific. Let's move this over. My cameraman working again here. Okay, so basically it's kind of this idea is that if I don't know if you've ever tried to do this. You ever try to pour milk into a bottle, right? If you're trying to pour milk into a bottle, it's a lot easier if you have a funnel, right? So if I have this general down to specific, then I have a little bit better chance of catching the interest of more readers, right? So I'm going to begin by talking about a topic in general. Let's just use what? Let's use computers, right? I'm sorry, I'm just off the top of my head, computers. I'm not going to start out specifically talking about the new MacBook Pro 19-inch model or something, right? I'm not going to begin by talking about that. Instead, I'm going to start talking about computers, right? This is also a chance you can use history, right? You can kind of go back in time and talk about how we came to here, right? Okay, so that could happen in general to specific. So computers, so down to, I'm going to narrow down to one specific model or one type, or Apple, or some specific even software, right? I might start out talking about computers as a general way to bring you down to, I want to introduce you to this idea about software developments. All right, so that's a general to specific, and this is the reason we want to start out with this very, very wide mouth, the very, very wide top, and try to catch as many readers as we can and bring them down, and then somewhere down here, then we can drop the thesis statement on them. All right, so that's number one, general to specific. So hiroi, right? So from very broad thing down to kuwashikoto, right? Something very, very specific. Don't begin by saying this paper is about, this essay is about, because that's fine if you're like in elementary school, 3rd or 4th grade. Maybe they allowed you to do that in middle school. Shame on them if they did, but it's not acceptable at this level. Right? So I'm not going to begin by saying this paper is about. That's beginning specific. Right? So we're not going to do that. We're going to start out with from general to specific. Technique number 2 is use an anecdote. Right? Anecdote is basically a related story. I'm glad I said computer now because I'm an old guy. Maybe all of your life you've always had computers. It's always been a big part of your life. So maybe you, even though you are still very young, most of you, you're still young, you have seen great change over computers. And that's in many, many ways, in price, in size, and ability, right? The things that one computer is able to do. Right? So we could tell a story, right? When I was a high school student, a long time ago, when I was a high school student, there was a computer in my school. There was. It had punch card. Did not have hard drive. It had a punch card, and people had to put these cards in there. It had these little holes in there, and it would read that, right? So that was one computer. When I went to college, there were computers brought in while I was there, and everyone was just amazed. They were, wow, this is so amazing. Here are these computers, and you can use them instead of typewriters, because when I was a high school student, we had to learn to type on these not even electric typewriters, and then electric typewriters, so if you made a mistake, throw away the paper. So I could tell that as an anecdote, as a story, a related story, that when I was a college student, I was introduced to computers for the first time, and my English teacher told me, learn computers, these will be huge. And I didn't do it. It took a long time for me to finally come around. And when I taught at my university in America, when I taught there first, I taught in the open writing lab as well, and I would begin class every morning 20 minutes before class by turning on every computer, then going and putting in a floppy disk and then going back around, push yes, 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 then go around, take that disk out, put another disk in, click yes, 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 yes on 20 different computers, and then the students would come in with their disk for doing their work. Today, I can have in my phone, I have more computer processing power than that entire room of computers had. So that's a story, that's an anecdote, that's a related story about my topic, about computers getting better, faster, stronger, cheaper. That's the other thing. The very first computer I owned, the hard drive was maybe less than, what? This is 8 gigabytes. It had about a 300 megabyte hard drive. Wow, it was amazing, right? So I could use those stories, right, to get interest by giving this as an anecdote. All right, so general to specific, use an anecdote and tell a story. Oh, also, you don't have to tell a true story. It doesn't have to be a true story. It just needs to be a related story. You can make up a story. You can also make up a story about someone general. I'm always talking about Suzuha. Suzuha wakes up every morning at 5:30 to wash her face, eat a quick bite of rice, and then begin to study. Then she rides her bicycle for 20 minutes to get to the station, and then she rides the train all the way to school, where she studies very hard. When school finishes, she goes to her club activity. When the club activity finishes, she starts her way home, and on the way home, she goes to Juku, where she studies for 3 more hours. Then Suzuha makes it home finally around 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, where she does her homework from her day at school and has her dinner. Then she goes to sleep. So Suzuha is not a real person, but we all know Suzuha, right? So that's an anecdote, a related story. Okay, so I can use an anecdote. I can also use a quote. Okay, I can use a quotation, or even like a proverb, something that's famous that lots of people know. So I can use a quote or a proverb. So quotation is something someone said or someone wrote. It could be something from anyone. It could be something your teachers said, like I'm always saying writing is easy. Professor Williams says writing is easy. Well, we could use that. And I guarantee if your topic is about writing, then that will get interest, because most people will disagree with you, right? So they'll say that Professor Williams is crazy. Maybe they will say that. Surely they will say that. So use a quote or a proverb. So we could use a proverb like sometimes the monkey falls from the tree, right? We have that, right? You guys have that too in Japanese, right? There's that expression used, maybe the proverb that sometimes the monkey falls from the tree, meaning that even the skilled person makes mistakes, right? Even when he's in his own environment, he could still make a mistake. So, 韓国語でも同じ속담, right? There's 속담, right? So 가끔씩 원숭이도 나무에서 떨어질 때가 있다. Okay, so we could use that as a way to get interest, or we can use "I'll be back." We can use quotations from movies or from Shakespeare or anything along that line to get interest. Now you can maybe start to see a little bit about how we can combine these. We can combine these things to be able to make my introduction a little more interesting to the reader, and a little more leading, drawing my reader down to where my thesis statement is going to be. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3. So next one is ask a question. Ask a question. This is by far the easiest way to get interest. It doesn't matter, our brain is kind of designed to do this, that if someone asks you a question, it will try to answer the question. So especially in writing, if someone uses this even in their presentation, right? If someone asks a question, then you will try to answer it. Maybe if you're home sometime and the television is on and you're just walking by the TV and you hear someone on there ask a question, are you tired today? Yeah, a little. Right? We just naturally answer those questions, right? That's not what I want though. That's not a way to get interest, that question. We need a special question. This question needs to be, has to be what the answer will be, how they will answer. Not just I know the answer. Am I staying in? Am I running out? I'm running out again, right? So I'm gonna fire my cameraman. We'll move over here, okay? So you know what the answer will be. All right, so I have to ask questions where the answer is known. The answer will be known by you, the writer. So we can't ask questions like, what's your favorite color? Or are you tired? Maybe we could say, are you tired? What do you think? Most people answer yes. If most of the readers answer yes to your question, or most of them answer no, then you've got a question that might be useful for getting interest. For example, if I ask you, do you like English? Don't lie, okay? It's okay. Okay, I'm guessing you do. If that answer is no, then you probably have a lot of hard work ahead of you. But that answer needs to be at least a little, right? So, and even if it's only you in this audience, the majority, so daibubun, right? The majority is going to answer yes to that question. Right? So if I ask a question like, do you have enough money? That answer is no, because no person on the earth goes, yeah. Okay, maybe some like some monk or somebody goes, oh yes, I'm very happy and very peaceful. I don't need any more money. But not in this audience. In this audience, I know that answer. That answer will be no. Now I've got you. Do you have enough money? Do you want more money? That answer is going to be yes again, right? So do you have enough money? No. Do you want some more money? Yes. Would you like to know how to get more money easily? Bam, I got you. Same way, right? So same thing with English with with the English as the question. Do you like English? Do you like to study? No, no one likes to study, okay? So don't have to lie about that. No one likes to study. So ask a question where you know the answer. All right. Also, it's really good to combine questions. We could do 1, 2, 3 questions, especially 2 questions together. Very, 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 very effective. Very, very effective for creating interest. All right. So we have 4. We're going to get 1 more, and the last one is use facts. Facts or statistics. Statistics. Let's see if my spelling is okay. Statistics, that's S. Facts or statistics, facts. Okay, so facts, we know facts. Statistics means we have, they are some specific facts that are numbers, right? So be careful using just numbers. We want to relate them to people if we can, because it's not very interesting just to give a lot of numbers. But we want to use some facts and statistics that could be interesting. If we're talking about some statistics that 10 years ago, every home had 0.7 computers. 5 years ago, every home had 1.2 computers. Today, the average home has 1.7 computers, right? Those are statistics, and they start there. It's a building number, right? So it should help to build interest. So after I use this, and then I can combine them, right? I can go from general to specific and ask a question, or I can ask a question, go to general and to specific, or I can tell a story and use facts and statistics within my story, right? So I can use an anecdote that way. This is a really, really good way. By far, easiest way. The easiest way is ask a question, because we always will try to answer that. Okay, so now the introduction is going to have get the reader's interest 2 times, times 2, right? So 2 questions doesn't count. Okay? Get the reader's interest has to be 2 different techniques, but it does work very well to add more than 1 question. All right? So get the reader's interest times 2, and then give the thesis statement. Then we're ready for support paragraphs.